The story begins in the icy wilderness of the far north in the year 1857. A ship on an expedition to the North Pole is seen stranded, trapped among massive sheets of frozen sea. One of the crewmen, Lars, reports to the captain, a determined man named Captain Anderson, that the crew can no longer continue. Starvation and freezing temperatures had broken their spirit. Yet, the captain refuses to give up the mission. As night falls, Larsen rushes back after hearing a distant explosion across the ice. Without hesitation, Captain Anderson gathers several men and heads toward the sound. There, they discover an injured man lying half-buried in snow. His name is Victor Frankenstein. He's bleeding heavily and missing a leg replaced by a wooden prosthetic. The captain, moved by compassion, brings him aboard the ship and orders the crew to tend to his wounds. The captain brings him aboard, unaware of what he's just done. Frankenstein. Not long after, something monstrous emerges from the darkness. A towering figure appears, hunting Victor across the frozen wasteland. The captain and his men open fire, but the bullets seem useless. The creature heals instantly from every wound. It climbs aboard the ship, tearing through the crew with terrifying strength. In a desperate move, Larsen grabs a shotgun and blasts the creature off the deck into the freezing water below. For a moment, it seems over until they realize the truth. The thing cannot die. Enraged, the creature returns, pushing against the ship with inhuman power, almost flipping it over. Thinking quickly, Captain Anderson fires his weapon into the ice beneath it. The surface cracks apart, swallowing the monster into the frozen sea. Silence returns to the Arctic night. When Victor regains consciousness, he finally reveals the terrible truth. The monster is his own creation, a being he once called the Creator. It was born from his experiments with life and death. Consumed by regret, Victor confesses that he has been running ever since, seeking redemption for the horror he unleashed. And so Victor begins to tell his story, hoping that someone somewhere will remember him not as a madman, but as a man who tried to correct his sins. The scene fades into his childhood. Victor grows up as the eldest son of Leopold Frankenstein, a respected surgeon who married into nobility. Leopold is strict and ambitious, determined that his son will follow in his footsteps. Harsh discipline and high expectations drive a wedge between them. With his father often away, Victor finds comfort only in his mother's warmth. But tragedy strikes one morning while Victor is playing cards with her. She suddenly goes into labor and Leopold rushes to perform the delivery himself. The baby is born healthy, a boy named William. But the mother dies moments later. Her death shatters Victor's world and plants a dark seed in his heart. Years pass. Victor grows into a gifted yet resentful young man. He watches his father shower affection on William, gifting him things Victor never received. Envy and bitterness grow inside him. One day, Victor confronts Leopold, accusing him of being a celebrated doctor who couldn't even save his own wife. From that day forward, Victor swears to conquer death itself. Guided by his obsession and the haunting whispers of something dark in his dreams, he vows to surpass his father and master the boundary between life and death. Back in the present, as Victor continues his tale aboard the frozen ship, the ice begins to tremble. From beneath the shattered surface, the Creator rises once more. The crew braces for another attack, unaware that Victor's story and his sins are far from over. Time moves on. After Leopold's death, a fire destroys Victor's mother's estate and everything she owned. The brothers are separated. William goes to live with relatives in Vienna while Victor continues his studies at Edinburgh. Years pass and Victor grows into a brilliant surgeon. We find him presenting his research before professors and honored guests at the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh. He demonstrates how lifeless muscle can move again when nerves, muscles, and ligaments are reconnected. The room is stunned. Curiosity mixes with shock and most of the professors condemn the work as immoral, an insult to God. Among the crowd, one eccentric gentleman is fascinated. On Victor's way home, the man approaches him. His name is Harlander. He carries a letter from William, who writes that he will visit soon and wants to introduce his fiancée, a young woman named Elizabeth, who is also Harlander's niece. Impressed by Victor's experiments, Harlander invites him to his home the next day, promising a reunion with William and Elizabeth and something extraordinary to see. The next day, Victor visits Harlander's grand house. The host is a keen photographer, but the real surprise is in his study. Harlander reveals a rare anatomical model based on the work of early Muslim physicians that maps the human lymphatic system. He believes this system may hold the secret to regeneration and perhaps a path to life prolonged far beyond its limits. With Victor's intellect, he says they could achieve something remarkable. He offers to fund Victor's research completely. Victor does not accept right away. He says he will consider it. Soon after, Victor finally reunites with William and meets Elizabeth. During a quiet afternoon meal, he shares his ideas about human regeneration. Elizabeth pushes back, saying it defies the will of God. A small debate follows. William and Harlander watch in silence. The meeting ends, but the encounter leaves Victor unsettled. He feels a pull toward Elizabeth that he cannot easily explain. Back on the icebound ship, Victor's story is interrupted. The crew spots the same monster that attacked them before. Fear spreads. Some beg the captain to cast Victor off the ship. Captain Anderson steadies the men and refuses. He says Victor is now a valuable asset to the crown and will be protected. Victor continues. 2 weeks later, he travels with William and Harlander to survey an old tower perched on a sea cliff. It is solid, isolated, and perfect for a grand experiment. Harlander promises to cover every expense. William is asked to help install equipment, including a device to draw lightning. With the site chosen and the resources secured, Victor agrees to the partnership. The next day, Victor begins his search for a test subject. He visits the prison where condemned men await execution, looking for a body strong and intact enough for his research. After securing one for his experiment, something unexpected catches his eye. Across the courtyard, he spots Elizabeth purchasing a book. Intrigued, he follows her to a small chapel and disguises himself as a priest, hoping to strike up a conversation, but it doesn't go well. Elizabeth quickly sees through the disguise and calls him out for being arrogant and manipulative. Although embarrassed, Victor refuses to give up. His persistence eventually wins her over, and he invites her to dinner. There, she opens up about her fascination with insects, creatures she sees as pure and perfect in their design. The tension between them softens as the night goes on, and Victor playfully convinces her to dance just to break the silence. Meanwhile, William works tirelessly on the laboratory, determined to help his brother's ambitious project succeed. Victor, however, uses that to his advantage, often sending William on long night shifts so he can spend more time alone with Elizabeth. Once the lab is complete, Victor throws himself into his greatest experiment, the creation of life. But his early attempts all fail. Frustration builds and the pressure grows heavier when Harlander reminds him that the war is nearing its end and funds are running out. One night, Elizabeth visits Victor's study. She admits her admiration for his accomplishments, unaware of how deeply he has fallen for her. Overwhelmed, Victor confesses his feelings, but she rejects him, remaining loyal to William. Anger and despair consume him. Later, as he sits in the dark, staring at his reflection, life, he realizes, does not depend on nerves alone, but also on the lymphatic system. Victor connects the wires of his experiment directly to the lymph nodes of his creation. Electricity surges through the body, and for the first time, the experiment works. Days later, after the war ends, Victor and Harlander collect fallen soldiers from the battlefield. From those lifeless bodies, Victor carefully selects and assembles the strongest parts, crafting what he believes will be the perfect man. Harlander documents every step, fascinated as Victor's creation finally takes form. That night, a storm rolls in. Victor prepares the body in the center of the tower, waiting for lightning to strike and deliver life. But before the experiment begins, he visits Harlander and makes a shocking discovery. Harlander is gravely ill, suffering from severe skin disease and syphilis. It becomes clear why he has been so obsessed with Victor's research. He hopes it might save him. Desperate, Harlander begs Victor to use part of his body in the creation, but Victor refuses. He fears the disease could corrupt what he has built. The storm grows wilder as Victor climbs to the top of the tower, securing the lightning rod against the roaring wind. Rain whips across his face. Thunder shakes the sky and flashes of lightning illuminate the stone walls. When he returns to the lab, Harlander is still there, demanding that Victor fulfill his request. He reminds him that every part of the research was funded by his wealth, but Victor refuses to give in. Their argument becomes heated. In a moment of chaos, Harlander slips and falls from the upper platform. The sound of his body hitting the floor echoes through the tower, leaving Victor frozen in shock. Harlander is dead. Yet Victor, now completely consumed by obsession, cannot stop. He turns back to his experiment, determined to see it through. Lightning crashes again, striking the tower with immense power. The machines surge to life and currents of electricity race through the body on the table. For a brief moment, Victor believes he has succeeded. Then the light fades and the body lies still. His creation does not move. Filled with anger and despair, Victor feels betrayed by the dark forces he once sought for inspiration. He collapses into restless sleep, haunted by the vision of wings and whispering shadows. But when morning comes, something changes. The creature stirs. Its chest rises. It is alive. Victor watches in disbelief. The being opens its eyes, blank and confused like a newborn child. It copies Victor's movements and sounds, repeating the only word it hears, his name, Victor.
Victor. Yes.
To keep it safe, Victor hides the creature in the lower chamber of the tower and secures it with chains. The being is innocent and curious, unaware of pain or danger. It does not understand fire, water, heat, or cold. But as time passes, Victor's pride turns into disappointment. The creature shows no sign of thought or awareness. It only repeats one word again and again. Weeks pass, and Victor's frustration grows heavier. Then one day, something unexpected happens. The creature picks up a razor, cuts its arm, and the wound closes instantly without bleeding. The skin heals completely before Victor's eyes. He is stunned. Fear takes hold. He realizes he has created something far beyond his understanding. Not long after, William and Elizabeth arrive at the tower, worried after hearing nothing from Harlander. Victor welcomes them calmly, pretending everything is fine. But Elizabeth hears a strange sound coming from below. She secretly follows it down to the basement where she discovers the creature alone, chained and trembling in the shadows. Her heart fills with pity. The creature looks lost and innocent, more human than monster. Elizabeth confronts Victor, demanding to know what she has seen. Reluctantly, Victor brings William down and introduces them to his creation. He explains that its body functions perfectly, its heart beats and lungs breathe, but its mind remains empty. It is alive, yet it does not understand what it means to live. That night, Elizabeth returns to the tower. She finds the creature sitting near the tunnel where water flows toward the sea, quietly watching the current move beneath the dim light. In its hand, it holds a small leaf which it gently offers to her. She smiles, touched by the gesture, and shows it how to form her name. When she leaves, the creature begins to mimic the sound of her name, repeating it softly as if discovering its own voice for the first time.
Elizabeth.
From the staircase above, Victor has been watching. He reveals himself and explains that the creature only imitates what it hears. But Elizabeth sees something deeper in it, believing that its innocence makes it more human than most. After she departs, Victor's obsession returns stronger than before. He chains the creature once more and forces it to obey. The next morning, he tells William that Harlander is dead and blames the death on his creation. He orders William to take Elizabeth away from the tower and keep the truth hidden. William obeys and the two leave at dawn. Alone, Victor prepares to end his work once and for all. He plans to burn the creature, the tower, and every trace of his experiment. On the road, Elizabeth senses that something terrible is about to happen and asks William to turn back. Inside the tower, Victor stares at his creation for the final time. The creature remains silent, unable to understand what is about to occur. Victor sets the fire. Flames begin to climb the walls, consuming the laboratory. The sound of destruction fills the air, and Victor's resolve falters. For a moment, regret crosses his face, and he tries to save what he can. It is too late. The explosion tears through the building, leaving the tower in ruins. Victor is thrown to the ground, his legs shattered. Moments later, William and Elizabeth arrive to find him barely alive among the debris. The story returns to the ship. The captain listens to Victor's account, torn between admiration and disbelief. He sees a man who has gone beyond reason in pursuit of knowledge. Victor, weak and broken, reflects the same judgment back on the captain's reckless expedition. As the captain turns to check on his crew, the ship trembles. Chaos greets him. The creature is on board and the deck is in ruins. It stands among the wreckage, its presence commanding silence. Then it begins its own story. When the fire first spread through the tower, the creature struggled to break free. It called out for help, but no one came. With its last strength, it tore the chains from the wall and escaped through a drainage tunnel just before the explosion. The blast threw it into the sea and it sank beneath the ice before washing up on the rocky shore. Wounded but alive, it wandered through the forest, finding scattered remnants of Victor's experiments and pieces of old military uniforms. It covered itself with what it could find and continued moving through the wilderness. For a time, it discovered a small herd of deer and shared their quiet feeding ground. But the peace did not last. Hunters appeared and bullets tore through its body. Each wound closed within seconds, leaving no trace. Exhausted and alone, It stumbled upon an abandoned house at the edge of the woods. It crept into a storage room filled with sacks of grain and the sound of scurrying rats. The next morning, the creature wakes to realize that the house he has been hiding in belongs to the same hunters who once shot him. From a small crack in the wall, he quietly observes their lives. In that home lives a kind old man who is blind and his cheerful granddaughter who fills the house with laughter. Day after day, the creature watches them from the shadows. He begins to imitate the sounds they make, copying the words the old man teaches the child. Slowly, he learns to speak, mimicking their language with growing curiosity. A longing begins to grow inside him. He wishes he could be part of that family. In secret, he starts to help them. Each night, he leaves piles of firewood by their door. The family believes these gifts come from a spirit of the forest. From that moment on, the creature becomes their unseen guardian. In return, the family begins leaving food and drink outside as an offering to the spirit they believe protects them. One evening, the peace is broken when a pack of wolves attacks the house, killing their livestock. The creature watches from the trees, ready to help, but hesitates as he witnesses the hunters fight back. The men kill the wolves without mercy, their violence as fierce as the animals they feared. After the attack, the family decides to travel to the city for the winter to sell their livestock. The old man chooses to stay behind. For the first time, the creature gathers his courage and steps out of hiding to reveal himself. The old man does not recoil in fear. Instead, he smiles gently, recognizing him as the spirit who had been helping all along. The old man understands what others cannot. He senses that this being is not a monster, but a lonely soul searching for meaning. He invites the creature to stay with him. For the first time in his existence, the creature feels kindness.
Stay with me.
Stay with me. Days pass and the two grow close. The old man teaches him to read. Through stories of Adam and even the history of humankind, the creature's mind begins to awaken. When the first snow of winter falls, he stands in wonder, amazed by its beauty. The old man then gives him a book about the connection between humans, God, and the mystery of death. The creature begins to question who he is and where he came from. The only name that lingers in his memory is Victor. Encouraged by the old man's wisdom, he decides to return to the tower where he was created. Inside the ruins, he uncovers the horrifying truth. His body was assembled from the remains of dead men. Among the debris, he finds a letter from William to Victor revealing the address of Victor's home. When the creature returns, tragedy awaits. The house has been attacked again. The old man lies dying, torn apart by wolves. In a fury of grief, the creature kills every wolf that remains. He kneels beside the old man, whispering that he now knows the truth of his creation. He calls himself a monster made from corpses. The old man, with his last strength, tells him that he is not a monster, he is good. He is a friend. With those final words, the old man takes his last breath. Moments later, the hunters return and find the old man's body. Rage fills them as they assume the creature is to blame. They open fire. The creature strikes back, killing one of them before collapsing under a storm of bullets. When night falls, the creature awakens once again, his wounds close as if they had never existed, his body restoring itself to life. After telling his story, the creature explains to the captain why he has hunted Victor for so long. To him, death is a gift from God, a peace he was never allowed to have. Victor denied him that mercy, leaving him trapped in a body that could not die, condemned to wander forever. Now with nothing left but emptiness, he seeks only one thing, a companion who might take away his loneliness. The story then returns to the past. After being rescued, Victor regains consciousness in his brother's home. William greets him kindly and brings him a new wooden leg, reminding him that today is his wedding day. He also mentions plans to sell the land where the old tower once stood, hoping to leave behind all traces of tragedy. But neither of them knows that the creature is already nearby, watching from the shadows. Later that day, Victor visits Elizabeth. It is a joyful occasion, yet there is distance between them. She asks him to stop lying, to let go of his obsession, and to leave her life in peace. Victor returns to his room, restless, haunted by the feeling that he is being watched. From the darkness, the creature appears. It steps into the light, desperate and pleading. It asks Victor to create another being like itself, someone who could share its eternal solitude. But Victor refuses. He swears never to make another monster. The creature's despair turns into rage. It cries out without words, trapped between life and death, unable to find release from its suffering. Fury takes over. The creature attacks, shaking the entire house. The noise draws Elizabeth back, and when she sees the creature again, her fear turns into compassion. She reaches out, moved by pity. But in the chaos, Victor panics. He fires his gun. The shot was meant for the creature, but Elizabeth steps in the way. The house erupts in panic. William and the guests rush in as Victor blames the creature for what has happened. William attacks in rage and the struggle turns violent. In the chaos, he suffers a fatal blow. As he lies, dying, he confesses that he has long feared his brother, not the creature. It was Victor's ambition, his obsession, that destroyed them all. Meanwhile, the creature carries Elizabeth's lifeless body into the wilderness. He finds a quiet cave and lays her gently upon the stone floor. For the first time, he feels peace, even through grief. As the snow drifts outside, Elizabeth's final breath fades, leaving him with her last expression of serenity. She had seen something pure in him, something human. And in that final moment, she felt safe by his side. Soon after, Victor arrives at the cave. There, he finds Elizabeth's lifeless body lying in silence. Grief fills the cold air. From the shadows, the creature steps forward. It admits that it longs for death to follow her into peace. But no matter how much it wishes, it cannot die. Overcome by despair, it lashes out at Victor before vanishing into the frozen wilderness. Driven by fury and guilt, Victor refuses to stop. He chases the creature across the ice for days. Traveling by sled through endless snow, his body weakens, but his obsession burns stronger. He gathers weapons, explosives, and ammunition, determined to end it all in one final night. As the wind howls across the Arctic plains, Victor sets up camp. The creature appears in the darkness, drawn to the inevitable end. Victor raises his rifle and fires, striking its arm. Wounded but unshaken, the creature picks up a stick of dynamite and lights it as if testing whether death can finally claim him. The explosion rips through the silence, echoing across the ice. It is the same blast we heard at the beginning of the story. Yet even this cannot kill him. The creature survives, scarred, but alive. Victor, on the other hand, is left half-conscious and barely breathing until the captain and his crew find and rescue him. Back aboard the ship, Victor lies dying. His strength fades, and the fire that once drove him begins to dim. For the first time, he feels the full weight of regret. He apologizes to the creature, calling him his son and admitting that he has been wrong all along. He asks for forgiveness for creating such a painful existence. The creature listens quietly, then forgives him. Victor's final request is that his creation speak his name one last time. He wants him to live on, carrying the name Victor Frankenstein, not as a curse, but as a legacy that might one day mean something good. Moments later, Victor dies in the creature's arms. When the captain hears both sides of the story, he decides to let the creature go despite the crew's fear. Before leaving, the creature helps free the ship from the frozen ice, pushing it back into open water. The men cheer as the vessel begins to move again. The captain, now changed by everything he has witnessed, abandons his mission to the North Pole, and orders the ship to turn home. As the story closes, the creature stands alone on the ice, watching the sunrise. Tears stream down his face as the golden light spreads across the horizon. For the first time, he feels both sorrow and peace. The journey is over. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video even half as much as I enjoyed making it, smash that subscribe button.